Jake here for American Trucks, and today I'm taking a look at the Axial Speedform Series throttle controller for 2019 and newer Rangers. Now, electronic throttles are one of the biggest innovations to hit the automotive industry over the last couple of decades, but they're not without their foibles. Now, if you're tired of that delay that you feel between pushing your Ranger's accelerator pedal and the engine actually responding, then a throttle controller might be something for you. And this Speedform Series module from Axial offers you a bunch of adjustability for the lowest price in the category. Now, with these throttle controllers, I always like to preface things by making a point to say that this is not a tuning module, so it's not going to be increasing the engine output on your Ranger. Rather, this only controls the responsiveness of that accelerator pedal. So this is perfect if you want to change up the driving experience in your truck without going all the way to a tune. So the goal here again is to decrease or eliminate the lag you feel when pressing the accelerator. Like anything with an electronic throttle, which is pretty much every vehicle anymore, there isn't quite an immediate response when you put your foot down. You might feel that little bit of delay between mashing it and the engine actually responding. But the benefit to that electronic throttle is that you can tweak them to make them more or less responsive depending on the driving conditions you're experiencing. In this little module here, you get 5 different presets that you can cycle through using the mode button on this side. And each of these is going to bring a different level of sensitivity and responsiveness to your truck's pedal. When NO is displayed on the screen, that means you are in normal or your factory stock settings, so you're not going to notice any difference there. Press it again, you get to ECO, which is of course economy mode. And that's going to decrease the sensitivity and give you a lot of additional control over the pedal so you can hypermile with ease. Also might be good if you're trying to get out of a sticky situation, like stuck in a mud puddle or something like that. P1 is what is described as comfort/sport mode, and that's going to make the pedal a bit more sensitive versus your stock setting, giving you a blend of additional response while helping to maintain good fuel economy. Now, P2 is sport mode, and that is going to further improve the response time and decrease that lag that you feel from the pedal. That's good for fun back road blasting or daily driving. Then you have P3, which is race mode, and that is going to eliminate all delay for immediate response time and the most aggressive throttle response overall. You can also adjust within each of those 5 modes with 9 different settings to calibrate exactly how you want that pedal to respond. You can change that using these little plus and minus buttons here on the face of the thing. So the settings are really easy to cycle through and allow you to dial in the throttle response to a setting that perfectly suits you and your truck. Though it's not quite as infinite or doesn't have quite as many modes as some of the more expensive units out there, you aren't paying a ton for this either, but more on that in a moment because I think it's worth touching on the construction of this as well. Now, I really like the look of this thing, and genuinely I was surprised when I opened up the box at how small it actually is. I mean, it's not even as big as the palm of my hand, and I do not have large hands. Though the display here is a little bit old school, and I think that's partially just because of the size. It reminds me a bit of a digital clock, and I kind of dig that. In a world where everything has to be this big thing or a big touch screen, it's nice to have something that's simple and only has a few buttons. The quality here is pretty good too. It's got this nice little bronze backing to it, and you've got double-sided tape already stuck on the back. Sort of reminiscent of an old iPod, and the buttons feel good to press too, not that you're going to be interacting with it all the time. And the benefit there is that this thing is tiny, so it's going to mount in a really unobtrusive place. Most people are going to get in your truck and probably won't even notice it. But for the times that you do interact with it, I really don't think that you're going to be disappointed. Now, it's also worth noting that this module isn't going to leave any residual engine codes, and it is 100% reversible, so you can take this out and it's not going to leave you with a check engine light or any other engine codes. No disappointment when it comes to the price either. As I alluded to earlier, this is the least expensive option in the category when it comes to throttle controllers for the modern Ranger, coming in at around $150. Of course, you don't quite get all the fixings that you might with a more expensive unit, so you don't have quite as many modes or features as some of those more expensive options, but you do still get a lot of adjustment, and I'm sure that you're going to be able to find a way to dial in your Ranger's response just to a way that'll suit you. And so if you want the benefits of the throttle controller without that big price tag in a form factor that's really nice and unobtrusive, this is going to be your ticket. Now, installation here is very easy too, coming in at a 1 out of 3 on the difficulty meter, and it shouldn't take you more than 30 minutes to get it installed. This is a total plug and play operation, folks. There's no modifications needed to your truck. Like I mentioned earlier, it's 100% reversible. You're just going to plug these in by your pedal, plug this side into the module itself, and then you can use the provided double-sided tape right here on the back and the zip ties in the box. Get this nice and cleanly mounted, and you're on your way. And to show you just how to get that done, let's throw it over to one of our AT customers.
Today I'll be installing the Axial Speedform throttle control on my 2022 Ford Ranger. This device is to increase the throttle response timing and comes with several different settings. In the box, you're going to find the control module, This is the device that actually allows you to change the settings from stock to sport to eco. It comes with 3 zip ties, which is why the only tool you actually need is a pair of snips to cut the zip ties. You have your manual. And then you actually have the electronics assembly. This piece has couplings that will go between the current throttle connection to your ECU and your ECU, and then a cable that will run up to wherever you decide you want to mount your control module. There's not really a stock part I'll be replacing. This is just an add-on. Again, this purpose of this is to help with throttle response in the control-by-wire system of the modern Ford. So next thing I'm going to do is get up under the dash and locate where this all gets plugged in. And it is this connector right here. This is your throttle control module attached to your throttle pedal. We're going to disconnect this line and connect in the new throttle control device. To disconnect the module, there's a little red tab that you pop up that releases the connector, and then it's just a matter of wiggling it off. Now you have the connector disconnected. Okay, so now that I have that disconnected, I'm going to connect to the part that does not have the factory connector on it. And you go in until it clicks in and make sure the red tab is down. That is the connector going to your ECU. So now this part that has the red tab connection is going to go back on top of your throttle body controller. So I put that on. I'm going to push down, make sure it's firmly seated, and then push the red tab in until it clicks. So now you have made the connection between your current throttle control and your ECU, and then we're going to find a place to zip tie this up and make sure it's secure. Before I get everything tied up, I'm going to go ahead and uncoil this wire. This is the wire that is going to run up to where you choose to mount your throttle body control module, where you actually have the buttons to push to change the modes of your throttle controller. So this is your throttle controller, and we're going to position this somewhere up under the dash. You have many options for mounting this up under the dash. You could mount it here, you can mount it over here, you could mount it in any one of a number of various places. On the back, there is red automotive tape that you just remove the red cover, and there is an adhesive backing to it that you can stick on pretty much everywhere. You may want to make it more obvious and be out here in the open, or you may be like me. I'm going to actually mount it right here up under the steering column. I want to be able to access it, but I don't want it to be very obvious. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to run this cable up through under the dash and pull it up out through the underside of the steering column. There's no real interference. In fact, if my hand was a little thinner, I could reach right through there. So I'm going to go ahead and fish that up and get it out the top. So here, I'm able to pull it right out. And now it has just a flat tab connector. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in right there. And then before I start tying and mounting things up, I'm going to go ahead and fire up the vehicle and make sure everything works before I get it all locked into place. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and fire up the truck. I'm going to hold the brake pedal with my foot so I can push my start button. The truck is started up, and it comes up with a default setting of P2.6, which according to the manual is making it in sport mode with a fine-tuning adjustment of 6. So we know now, because we have lights on, that we're definitely connected to the ECU. Let's make sure the throttle pedal is still connected. Alright, so it looks like we have everything connected properly. So now we will go ahead and finish mounting all this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and work my way back. Since I know I want my device right here, I'm going to mount that first, and then that'll let me know how much slack I'm going to have in the wire and how much I need to tie up in various places. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing tape cover. And you can see it just leaves a clean piece of automotive adhesive. I'm going to do my best here to center that up right up under my steering column. You want to go ahead and make sure you give that good pressure for 5 to 10 seconds. All right, so that is connected now. So now I will start working my way back. I'll be honest, there's not a lot to wire tie onto under here. There is an air vent that drops right in underneath. So what I will probably end up doing is I will use this cord and wrap around that air vent and then tie that up to hold the whole thing. You don't want to, of course, tie to your brake pedal assembly or your steering column for obvious reasons. You don't want anything getting crunched and bound up or tied up or anything like that. So you definitely want to make sure you're only tying to parts that are non-moving and you won't interfere with anything else. So I'm going to work on getting this pulled down tight and wrapped around that air vent. So once I have that pulled up tight, I'm going to take one of the wire ties and then I'm going to tie that all up right here on this side, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. All right, now I've got the loop closed. Now it's important that I tuck up the wire inside the wire tie so that I'm able to pull it tight and get the control module as secure as possible. All right, so I have all that tied up there. I'm going to try to capture the other side. I don't know how successful it is for you to be able to see it, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to get this one started on this side and then pull it over to the other side where I have less visibility. Alright, now I'll pull that around the back. Hopefully you can see some of that. Alright, you do want to make sure you guys get this secure. You are talking about cables around your throttle. You don't want anything that's going to drop down while you're driving. Once you get everything up there, go ahead, snip off your extra bits of wire tie. Find the other one there, snip that off. So right now, I have this set in the sport mode, and let's see if you can tell when I push the cable, or when I push the throttle versus when you hear it. That's sport mode. We're going to go ahead and change to no. So if you can read this right now, that says no, which means it is in the factory setting. And now let's see if we can tell any kind of delay. Now we're going to go into performance mode. This is what's called the comfort mode. So it's performance mode 1. I don't know if it's coming through on video, but I can tell you by when I'm pushing with my hand and when I'm hearing it, it is a little bit sped up. I'm going to go ahead into sport mode. This is performance mode number 2. So one thing I'm noticing is not only a faster reaction, but I'm noticing more of a reaction. So as you may or may not know, the speed controller doesn't give you any extra power. It is, however, opening the throttle to a wider position with less throttle pedal push. So you're getting the same amount of throttle as if you were pushing that pedal down somewhat further. This gives the impression and the response time improvement that you're looking for. So finally, I'm going to go to performance 3, which is race mode. It's not as scientific as I'd like it to be, but if you could hear that, I'm roughly pressing to the exact same position I was pressing before, and there's significant more engine revs coming out of it. So my throttle is definitely open further. And then finally, I'm going to go into eco mode. If you watch the video that's on the site about speed controllers in general, you're going to find out that eco mode is going to be actually slightly less than stock mode. It's going to give you that ability that when you're just cruising down the highway, probably in cruise control or whatever, that it's going to react a little bit less, use up a little bit less gas, and hopefully improve your gas mileage. Depending on when you're watching the video, gas prices are quite high right now, so that may be of benefit. And I'm pushing roughly the same amount, and you're hearing significantly less revs out of the engine.
That's going to do it here for our review and install of the Axial Speedform Series throttle controller for 2019 and newer Rangers. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, for all things Ranger, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.